Ted Jedynak believes in questioning the status quo and challenging standard treatment of business options in order to achieve better outcomes. During the past 31 years, he's developed a paradigm-shifting way of working in private practice. He is an international lecturer and trainer in foot mobilisation techniques and a business consultant to practitioners in the UK, Canada, USA, Italy, Portugal, as well as Australia. Ted is currently a visiting fellow and clinical consultant to QUT's Musculoskeletal Specialist Clinic in Brisbane. Ted has established 3 foot and leg centres, with these podiatry centres that specialise exclusively in the foot mobilisation therapies. There are 2 centres here in Adelaide and 1 in Queensland at Southport on the Gold Coast. The Foot and Leg Centre is a winner of the prestigious Telstra Business Award. Today, Ted will be talking to us about why podiatrists make the best sales people. So please welcome.
Thank you, Katie. Well, a very good morning to you all. What a fantastic venue for us to be able to share some quality time together. Podiatrists and sales. So let me ask you, before we begin, I'd like to ask you this question, and that is, what is the first word that pops into your mind when you think of sales?
Cars.
So you got it? Cars? Thank you for volunteering. An answer, yes, we have a winner. Okay, now. Any other, what's the word, and at this point, just have it in the back of your mind. What's the word, when you think of sales, what pops into your mind? This is a word cloud. So 1,000 people were surveyed, asked that same question, and their responses were then charted and logged, and this is the responses that were received. The more common a word was responded with, the more real estate it takes up on the word cloud. So you'll see here, there are a range of a number of words, a lot of which are probably not the most elegant or the most diplomatic of terms. Let me ask, that word that you first thought of, how many of you see it written up here? A show of hands? Great. Oh, so there are other words that are there. Okay. Let us proceed. The next task is image. What's the image that you think of, or that pops into your mind when you hear the term salesman? Okay, got it? That's the image. Is it anything like Uncle Con here? It's probably the stereotypical version of salesman that we might come up with. And then, if we think of the associated word cloud with salesman, now we start getting the pushy, the sales suit, the common terms here. So, podiatrists, would we want to be associated with such characters or such words and such terms? Probably not. However, the title of the topic is Why Podiatrists Make the Best Salespeople. Now, podiatrists, salespeople, what is the connection? So, I think before we can get too far down the road here, what we actually have to do is think of the definition of sales. If we get clear on that, then we can make some progress. So, with sales, Dan Pink wrote a tremendous book recently published called To Sell is Human. And in this book, he puts a very convincing argument for what sales actually is. And what he just describes or defines it as is moving others, influencing, convincing, or persuading others to take a course of action. Now, how many of you were involved in some level of sales? And I have to rule out the tradespeople displays that are on today. But how many of you were involved in sales sometime this morning? Just a show of hands. Ah, no. Okay. How many of you here have children? Okay. Let me ask, did any of you this morning have a need to convince or persuade your child to clean up their breakfast dishes, to maybe fix up their room before you left, or clean their teeth. How many of you were involved in an activity of that sort? Okay, great, thank you. What about your significant other? Did you have to race out of your home this morning because you were heading to the Podiatry Extravaganza and Jedynak was speaking, I wasn't going to miss a word of that. Or maybe on the way here you realised, I was supposed to send off that report from the practice yesterday, or I was going to make sure that I get that appointment changed, and you've either made a phone call or you've had an email transmission take place to get another course of action done by maybe one of your staff members. How many of you have been involved in activities something like that this morning? Okay, great, thank you. So, what that is persuading or influencing or convincing someone else to take a course of action. And right now, I'm going to persuade this group of people to sneak in as if I didn't notice. And I think that probably hasn't worked that well. Okay, so just to recap, we're going to define sales as the process of influencing, persuading, or moving others to take a course of action. And think, in your clinical practice, has that ever been something that you've needed to do for the betterment or for the welfare or for the well-being of your particular clientele? I think maybe so. So if we consider sales being fitting into this definition, what and how would we describe top sales people? The people who are absolutely the best in their field, and we would regard them as a top salesperson. In fact, think of a time, think of someone that you have had an interaction or a transaction with that is involved dealing with a salesperson that you were really impressed by their skills, their craft, or their ability to perform their role. Just hold that in the back of your mind. What are the common characteristics or features that top salespeople have? Yep.
I think they have the capacity for people to trust them.
Trust. Okay, got to remember that word. Thank you.
I've got the gift of the gap.
Gift of the gap?
Yeah.
Okay. You need to remember that because we're going to come to that.
They believe in what they're selling?
Yeah, great. I think that's sincerity or that congruence in what they're selling. Yep.
They actually help you to buy what you want or need as opposed to trying to sell it to you.
And what that comes down to is top salespeople are fantastic problem solvers. Because invariably, if you think of those transactions that you've been involved with, you have had a problem that you've needed to get sorted out or get a solution to that problem. And what the salesperson has been able to do in a very elegant way or in a way that has suited you or worked with you is been able to provide a solution for that problem. This is a health-related seminar that's taking place here, so I figured we better have a health-related image take place up here. Just check. Great. So, what we've got here, a bit of a clue, it's an X-ray. What part of the body is this an image of?
Spine.
Who said that?
I did.
Good. Great. Ready? You good catch?
Yeah, I'm a pretty good cat.
So, Chris, well done. Lumbar spine. So the top of the screen is L2. Next vertebrae down is which vertebrae?
3, 4, 5, yeah.
No, it's the next one. Answer the question. L3 comes after L2. All right, if you have a look at L3, it's actually a nice parallel. The articular surfaces are nice and parallel. Have a look at L2. You see how the distal edge anteriorly is a little more wedged? Now have a look at L4. Can you actually make out the vertebral body there? It's kind of all smashed and distorted. This is actually my spine, an image that was taken in 2007. Now, I sustained an injury which resulted in this series of compression fractures and distortion fractures. I'm always a little bit hesitant to talk about this injury and how it happened, but we're amongst friends, I guess. It was actually wild sex gone wrong. Oh yeah, laugh. Good news is, no one else got injured at the time. I was on my own at the time. Now here we are, a bunch of podiatrists, and you can see there's something seriously wrong with L4 here. The intern that assessed these x-rays, while I'm lying drugged out at an emergency department of the Royal Adelaide Hospital, missed it. Said, there's nothing wrong, get out of here. Loaded me up with drugs, and I was sent on my way, you know, but that's a whole other story. When the radiologist actually reviewed the x-rays the next day, got a phone call. Phone call went along the lines of, please don't move, we're sending you an ambulance, you've got to get you to the spinal injuries unit. And which is where I was immobilised to prevent any risk of neurological damage. Oh sorry, I didn't tell you actually how it happened, did I? Really, the first reason was a joke. What happened is, I insulin-dependent diabetic, and I had a nocturnal hypo, which triggered off a seizure. The strength and the force of the seizure just crushed my vertebrae. So it's a pretty intense seizure that took place. My endocrinologist, Tony Roberts, some of you may know, I've known Tony for probably close to 20 years now. When he had heard of the injury, he came into the hospital, he was making things happen, got onto the medical director, got onto the head director of the spinal injuries unit, and really went to extraordinary lengths to make sure that I got well looked after. I'm very, very grateful for that. Got through the acute phase, then Tony and I are sitting down working out, okay, what's going on here, what's the problem, what's the solution that we're going to come up with? So the problem was clearly that my blood sugar levels, their control was not well maintained or not controlled sufficiently or adequately. And based on Tony's experience, what he recommended was the insulin infusion pump. So I'd like you to meet Pat. Pat, my pump here. Since 2007, I have had one mild nocturnal hypo in that duration. So I've got a good solution now for maintaining good blood sugar control. And the thing that was, if you think about it, anyone here tethered to an insulin pump? Okay, the biggest change in the beginning is psychological. It's literally being tethered 24 hours a day to this thing that's attached to your body. And it's more about psychology of how you get used to it and manage it. Now I wouldn't be without it. However, in the early stages, it really took some getting used to. The thing about my discussions with Tony, because he had mentioned them previously, but we got to the point where this was the best solution for my particular problem. And he mentioned the word trust. So, yeah. So I have an incredible amount of trust which he had demonstrated clearly over the years that he had my well-being at heart. So because of that trust, it really was a no-brainer. It was more about, okay, how do I manage this? How do I get used to it and put it to the best use? And the thing about top salespeople is that they have the ability to build trust and build connection with their customers, with their clients, with their patients. As podiatrists, can we build trust to a sufficient level with our clientele in one visit? How many think yes? Okay. How many think no? Okay. How many don't know? How many don't care? Oh, exactly. Right. So building trust in one visit. Do you know what the #1 reason that is given to those people who are suing their surgeons in the US is? It's not he cut off the wrong foot, or it's not he left a pair of forceps in my abdomen. The #1 reason, the #1 complaint that solicitors document is he didn't listen. Man, we all have the ability to listen. You have demonstrated that spectacularly over the last 15 minutes. We have the ability to listen. How well we listen and what we do with our listening, now that may be another topic of discussion. Taylor Walker, being in the home of the mighty Adelaide Crows, what's the distinguishing anatomical feature that Taylor has, other than a buggered knee? And other than a shocking mullet, what else would Taylor be known for?
That ear. It's right here.
Yes.
It's like a lip, is it?
Anatomy review time, health practitioners. How many ears do we have? 2. How many mouths do we have? 1. So let's think of that ratio. Who mentioned about good top salespeople will say anything or they'll talk, you know. Oh, Chris, you said it. What's it? You said, talk like me. It's the gift of the gab, so thank you. Top salespeople use their anatomy in the right ratio, as in they listen twice as much as they speak. Real thing about building trust is about listening, getting into the shoes of your customer, of your patient, of your client. If you put yourself in their position, take interest, be alert, be interested in them. How do you find out about what a particular client's needs are?
Listen.
What are you going to listen to? You're going to ask them the question. You're going to find out, why are they here? You might have someone come to see you and say, yeah, I'm here because I got a sore heel. That's not why they're there. They're there because that sore heel is stopping them from playing with the grandkids. It's stopping them from going for a lovely beach walk at sunset. That's what you need to get to understand what your clients want, understand what they need, and then you can work to provide an active solution. If you just tell them, well, you need to do this, you need to do ice therapy, you've got to stretch, you've got to do that, without really connecting, and if you haven't built the trust, you ask questions and find out about the needs of your clients, that's how you build trust. That's how you get to know them, and you'll be able to tailor the specific solution for their needs. But the key here is listen twice as much as you speak. And when you listen, you then pick up the information, you pick up what's important, what's relevant to your clients. And that's how you can work out and tailor the best solution for them. Does that make sense? People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. If you're going to get one thing from today, write that down. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. I knew how much Tony Roberts cared about my health and well-being. He demonstrated it over the years and demonstrated it at the Royal Adelaide. So therefore you can build a level of trust that will absolutely put you in a whole different league. How many of you, sometime this week, dispensed a new pair of orthotics to one or more of your patients? Show of hands. Okay, great. Imagine this. You do your assessment, you do your analysis, you take your cast, you then provide the orthotic devices, you dispense them. When are you going to follow up with that patient after that dispensing appointment? Ballpark figure. 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, sometime? Over the next month, would that be a reasonable thing? They have these new devices, beautifully crafted, high quality items, into their shoes. They've never had them before. Go for a bit of a test drive in the clinic. Okay, yeah, that feels a bit funny. Oh yeah, no, should be all right. You've given them instructions, you increase the time you wear them through the course of the day. Imagine 2 days later, they've completed their day at work and they're sitting home relaxing of an evening and the phone rings. They pick up the phone. Hello? Hi there, John. Yeah. This is Ted from the Foot and Leg Centre. Have I caught you at a good time? Yeah? Yeah, why? Look, I'm just ringing to check and see how you and your feet are coping with your new orthotic devices. Yeah, no, going good. I feel a bit lumpy and strange, but you told me how to wear them in and persevere with that, so no, they're going okay. Excellent, great. Sounds like everything's responding just as I intended. If there's any problems, let me know, but otherwise, looks like we're on track. Oh, great, yeah, okay. Have a good evening, cheers. Hang up. The patient then sits down and significant other, who's that? Oh, that was my footman. What did he want? Oh, he wanted to know how I was getting on. That's it? Yeah. What response would that engender in your patients?
Care. Amazing.
Wow. You want a wow response? It's unexpected, and does that then bring a level of credibility and trust to the service that you're providing? Like, how impressed are they going to be with that? And what did it cost? 2 minutes of your time? 30 cents, 60 cents on your mobile phone plan? So it doesn't cost a lot, but the impression and the value that you provide, it's immeasurable. If you can take one practical thing from this session, do that. And you will see measurable results in your bottom line of what's the impression and what the trust and what that then translates to as far as sales down the track. It is an extraordinary thing. It's one of our practice policies to follow up, make sure that because if people are going to have difficulties or hassles, when's it going to be? Like, it's going to be in the first few days when it's all a bit new and strange, and that's when they're, you know, like on the weekend standing at the bar, oh, I've got to sit down, I can't stand at the barbie, why not? I've got these bloody foot orthodontic things and, you know, they're killing me, I don't know, should I wear them, should I not wear them? So you can answer all those questions in a phone call. And it's a complete surprise. A random act of kindness, spectacular marketing activity. Really is a good one. So listen to your client's needs and be aware that as health practitioners, whether we're podiatrists, physiotherapists, or chiropractors, we make the best salespeople. The reason for that is we care. We want to do good for people. We want to help people. How many professions really get to help people with key concerns or difficulties that they experience in their bodies? We're in such a fantastic opportunity and a wonderfully noble profession. The fact that we care, and if we can demonstrate that we care with a simple phone call, with listening more than we speak, they're skills that are absolutely doable and achievable. With our unique position as health practitioners and genuinely wanting to help people, if we can put that into practice, the effect that we will have on the community is extraordinary. You need to embrace the fact that we are in sales. We sell healthcare solutions. It's not the sales component, the financial transaction segment is a segment of being in the Western world, in a capitalistic world, in private practice. How many of you here are in public practice? Okay, great. So public practitioners have the same thing. You have employers, you have budgets to work with. There's a financial element to that. But as private practitioners, the actual financial section is a small part of the whole selling process. Listen carefully, take interest in your clientele, and then provide a solution. That's all about convincing, influencing, and persuading people to take steps to improve the quality of their lives. It's an absolutely noble activity and discipline to be involved with. I would highly, highly, highly suggest you embrace the fact that you are a salesperson and do it well, because people are trusting you. They're trusting you with their personal bodily health needs. So if you do it well, you'll be able to help many more people at a much higher level. Thank you very much. Any questions? I'm listening.
Ted, when you see a patient for your initial consult, how much time do you allow for that?
Our standard initial consultation is 15 minutes.
Does that change for repeat consultations?
It's a time frame that we've found. It gives us time to understand the concerns and work out what's the next course of action.
Yeah.
So we don't attempt to provide a solution in that first visit. We need to do all our preliminary work before, and there are several steps involved before we'll actually provide the solution. But the initial stage, that's how we structure our appointment book.
So which I understand that process, you get them back, you say that I'll have a treatment plan for you.
Yes.
At your next visit. Is that what you do?
Our services are not traditionally part of mainstream podiatry. If we do our initial assessment and we determine from a clinical perspective that we think we can help this particular person, one of our initial diagnostic stages is to get weight-bearing x-rays. And from that weight-bearing x-ray, we will do a biomechanical assessment of their foot structure from a radiological perspective, which you've already done from a clinical perspective. We'll piece that together, then on their third visit is when we'll map out the treatment solution that we think will work best for them.
Because that sort of plan is used a lot on people that are very successful in their practice, both here and also in America. Just make an initial survey, make it and then come back. In your case, you do it 3 times before you come up with a plan.
No, you can't do that. You've got to give them the solution on the first visit. They're here. I booked out 45 minutes. You know, you've got to do this. I've got to cut the corns and I've got to provide the padding. I've got to do... I'm sorry, I may be a little facetious in that approach, but how many of you feel or have an obligation to think that you need to provide a solution or an answer all in that first visit? Just a sincere show of hands. Okay, thanks for that. It's how I used to do and how I thought it had to be. Interesting observation, Chris. It's not been my experience. Now, having specialised in this field for nearly 20 years, we have found that we don't get all the information that we need in the one visit. So let's spread it out and make sure that we're confident and the patient's confident for what we're
It's
proposing.
just what I've observed, but also a naturopath, I mean, say, people don't want, like with what you're saying, they don't want all the solutions and then all the treatments first up. They don't really appreciate and respect the practitioner.
Yes.
I'm not very successful as a naturopath, but I'm more successful as a naturopath. So they only have a short consult, first of all, what's your problem, yada, 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 yada. You need to come back, I'll have a treatment plan, a solution for you. So those practitioners are very, very successful. I know what you're saying where you're coming from. You know, you get people to come back, listen to what they say, you get to come back for like a definitive treatment plan, solution.
Yeah, and it's in a lot of the research that I've been doing in different health professions, there are, and it depends on the service and it depends on the health profession and what you're providing. But I know that over the course of particularly the last 11 years that we have had the Foot and Leg Centre operating in this particular business model, it absolutely has proven itself time and time again. So we have found it very beneficial. But I know, as health practitioners, we all do things differently. That's the artistic side of being human individuals.
I think it helps build trust and care that they believe in the practitioner more than do that, rather than providing a solution on fix things straight away, as you were saying.
How many things can you remember in a given period of time? How many of you think you might remember 2 or 3 things that I've talked about today? Okay. How many of you are confident that you would remember all 16 points that I've covered? Yeah, you won't. I've got them. I'll send you the PowerPoint presentation. There's more than a dozen key points. If you can only remember 3, that's great, but you're missing out on your money's worth because there are 16 of them. And from that point of view, we can only remember so much. So if you think you're going to be spending 45 minutes or an hour with someone because you need to give them all the information, they're only going to remember 2, 3 things probably. But other than that, it's about listening, making sure that you take into account what's important for that particular person, and then being a good solution, a problem solver. Provide a solution by being a good problem solver. Great, thanks for the question. Cool.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Ted, for doing that. And he's also got a workshop on his active mobilisation techniques at 3 o'clock on clauseness on level 2, just in case you wanted to know. So now it's morning tea time. You've got half an hour. Up where coffee was in the shed with trays this morning. And 11 o'clock back.
I follow a little bit from it. I've also got the app, so it's kind of front of thing that says, do you want to guess this person? And it's all good, mate. I do, listen, I'm always on some kind of technological thing.
We all do it.
It's funny that I see it versus
Andy's got one.
It depends if you're going to be specialised in a field. Yes. Oh, yes. It's going to appear, isn't it? Yes. Hello, today we met the other night, didn't we? No, not a few minutes ago. I apologise. No, it doesn't. Great. Fantastic. So I will be uploading onto YouTube clip of the session, so it will be available for you. We'll be doing this afternoon's workshop. So what's going to happen, there's a range of information there that I'll then email to the participants. So if I've got your email, I'll give you all the links to Yes. Sure. Yes. Yep. No, okay. We'll keep that in mind. Stay tuned. Yeah. Terrific. Thank you, Tim.
I'm going to go and get some.
We'll try.
I was saying, what people don't see is the design.